Many believe that the media helps to shape sexuality. Everybody consumes media every single day, whether it be through magazines, music, TV shows, movies, etc. Because of this, the media often sets the standard for how we develop our beliefs and desires. Throughout the video, we will provide examples as to how mainstream media shapes sexuality by analyzing how its messages, explicit or not, stick with the viewer and affect the way they begin to see and experience the world.
The development of capitalism moved away from the need for marriage and reproduction in order to survive. This shift from a producer to consumer society allowed for people to become more individualistic by forming their own beliefs and desires rather than relying on their family unit. Throughout the 1920s, the flapper was portrayed as the single sexy party girl. She was advertised as independent and free to do what she liked. Throughout this time, newspapers and magazines showed the flapper as the standard of beauty. Women reading these ads and articles internalized these standards and were expected to look and behave like these free-spirited women. Today, magazines such as Cosmopolitan continue to influence the appearance and beliefs of women, in turn shaping how they should feel as sexual beings.
Whereas magazines provide a tangible influence on how people shape themselves, oftentimes implicit messages in TV shows and movies end up indirectly influencing how people shape their experiences. In the show, Queer Eye, Bobby Burke is portrayed as a successful gay individual who came from a tough path. Almost being kicked out of his home by his religious parents, he, like many other individuals, has experienced abuse due to his sexuality. His experience represents the concept of wounded truths, or the idea that to be gay is to be wounded. So commonly in society are members of the LGBTQ community portrayed as depressed, anxious, tied to high suicide rates, etc. People watch Queer Eye for the warm and fuzzy aspects and find that the fact that Bobby Burke was able to overcome his negative past inspiring. By continuously sharing these feel-good stories, the media reinforces the concept of wounded truths rather than challenging it, and showing that to be gay is to be joyous, not wounded. Although not necessarily the same as the wounded truths woven together through shows such as Queer Eye, children's movies are still found to be packed with underlying messages. Disney movies have sexual intent, and children are exposed to sexuality at a very young age. They reinforce heteronormativity, and it is done so in two ways. The first way is magical, inspiring, and powerful relationships in the G movies. They are so wonderful, dreamy, and persuasive that it makes it hard to imagine any other way of life. Most all Disney movies up to 2005, such as Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin, directly show romantic love. Heteronormativity in G movies can be portrayed by gendered bodies. The women are seen as sexy and the men admire them. Men's bodies are rarely mentioned in the films, yet they occasionally appear half-naked, such as Tarzan. The men can also be caught staring at the women's bodies, such as when Belle leaves the bookstore and three men are gazing at her, reinforcing heteronormativity. By watching these movies, children can learn heteronormativity at such a young age. It reinforces false imagery of body structure, leading to self-esteem issues for young girls and feeling that they will never live up to the expectations provided in these movies.
As Maselli tells us through images used in teaching methods during sex ed, these lessons create a picture of abstinence and heteronormative sex. It is depicted as the only way to fulfill one's desires. For example, in Mean Girls, the gym teacher tells their students that if they have sex, they will get chlamydia and die. In our society, we do not want to tell children about sex through media. Therefore, we provide pseudo-images to them. For example, we show the images of a condom on a banana, but do not show how to put a condom on or talk about pleasure to students in sex ed. We only talk about abstinence instead of preventative measures, and this is what is taught through our social medias.
Gail Rubin introduces the idea of the charmed circle, which delegates what is considered good and bad when it comes to sex. Oftentimes, the media uses characters who belong inside of the charmed circle to send messages, which in turn reinforce ideas such as heteronormativity, same race, same age, same ability, etc. Because people are constantly exposed to these normative characters, they begin to feel like those are the only right ways to do life. The movie Grease has long established what it means to have the perfect relationship. A man and woman who are both young, white, healthy, and monogamous, Danny and Sandy, have been painted as the ideal for decades. In modern movies such as The Kissing Booth, this imagery continues. Elle, a straight, white, cis female, volunteers in a charity kissing booth and winds up falling in love with a straight, white, cis male, Noah. In addition to movies, music and books more often than not reinforce societal norms. However, music and books have a more conceptual nature, so while they might be portraying these norms, they also more easily allow for the consumer to interpret it how they want. Through music, people are repetitively exposed to sexual imagery and thoughts, which end up shaping their own beliefs and desires, despite living in a sex-negative culture. Songs such as 9 Inch Nails' Closer reinforce the idea of male dominance and female submission, which is shown with how derogatory the lyrics may sound. Even though the media continues to reinforce the values held within the charm circle, they oftentimes glamorize ideals in the outer limits too, whether intentional or not. Rihanna's song S&M and the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy were not necessarily created with the mindset of bringing BDSM into the charmed circle. However, due to the prevalence of these themes, it has been brought more so into the mainstream. This has led to people attempting these activities without actually understanding the knowledge or skills that typical members of the commonly ostracized BDSM community have.
Although the party scene is mostly portrayed as heteronormative, this environment can be an arrangement for same-sex behaviors, which then can potentially lead to newfound identities for the women that are hooking up with other women. Sexual fluidity is becoming more prevalent on college campuses since further material has come out that educates students that sexual behaviors are not necessarily fixed. In the MTV show Faking It, Amy and Karma hook up for a man's pleasure, which leads to discovering new lesbian identities. This directly relates to the party scene being a safe space to explore possible desires. The party scene helps to normalize these desires, which may be considered outside of the charm circle. By seeing these actions on TV, these programs can help to normalize behaviors outside of the charm circle.
Through the consumption of movies, music, TV shows, and more, the media helps to shape our sexuality and all who consume it. We are surrounded by media every day, creating a never-ending escape from the influences within it. From the examples provided in our video, we brought up topics focusing on the many concepts of media and how it shapes our sexuality. We included topics such as sex negativity, false body imagery, the charm circle, and more. From this, we can note that what is socially acceptable has a strong influence on the way we consume this media. Starting at a young age, media will begin to be a key component in how we internalize these concepts, shaping our beliefs and desires and experiences. Throughout our lifetime, how we view the media will change, but will already have a large foundation formed from our early childhood.